My beloved brothers and sisters, have you ever reached a point in your life where things suddenly begin to change without any clear reason? People you were once very close to begin to drift away. Relationships that felt strong suddenly become distant or even fall apart. Habits and routines that once brought you comfort now feel heavy, meaningless, or even harmful. The very environment around you starts to feel different, almost as if life is quietly nudging you in a new direction. And during these moments, it's natural to feel confused or unsettled. You might sit alone and wonder, what's going on? Why is everything shifting? Why does it feel like I'm losing pieces of my life? At first glance, it may look like everything is falling apart. You might feel like you're being punished or forgotten. But I want you to pause and think deeply. What if instead of losing, you're actually being reshaped? What if those uncomfortable changes are not signs of failure, but signs of divine transformation? You see, what many people don't realize is that when you ask Allah for guidance, for strength, for peace, for success in this world and the next, He doesn't just hand you the results instantly. Instead, He begins a process of preparation. And part of that process includes removing what no longer serves your purpose, what no longer benefits your soul, and what might even be silently holding you back from becoming who you're meant to be. Change by its very nature is uncomfortable. Human beings grow attached to what is familiar, even when it's not good for us. We get used to people, to routines, to certain ways of thinking or behaving. And so when those things begin to fall away, it can feel as though we're being broken. But I want you to understand, you're not being broken down for no reason. You're being rebuilt by the one who created you in the first place. It's not chaos, it's not bad luck, it's not rejection, it's divine redirection. And the sooner you begin to see these moments through that lens, the sooner you'll find peace in the process. You'll stop resisting the changes and start embracing them as signs that Allah is working in your life, even when you don't fully understand how or why. Because my brothers and sisters, when Allah removes something from your life, it's never random. It's always part of a greater plan to replace the old you with someone better. When we raise our hands and sincerely ask Allah for guidance, for strength, for purification, for a better future or a closer connection to Him, we often expect the answers to come in the form of visible blessings. We imagine ease, comfort, happiness, or a sudden feeling of clarity. But what we don't always realize is that real growth, real change, the kind that brings us closer to Allah, rarely happens in comfort zones. Sometimes the way Allah answers your dua is by unsettling your life just enough that you're forced to pause, reflect, and start walking a new path. It might begin slowly. A friend you used to speak to every day stops responding. The people you laughed with no longer find joy in the same conversations. Certain desires that once pulled you towards sin lose their grip on your heart. You begin to feel a quiet discomfort with who you were, and yet you're unsure of who you are becoming. This is the work of Allah. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, does not always give by adding. Sometimes He gives by taking away. This is something many people struggle to accept. We think that if something is removed from our life, it means we've lost. But in reality, what's being taken may have been a barrier between you and your next stage of growth. It could have been a distraction or even a danger to your spiritual development. Allah sees what we cannot. He knows the unseen. He knows the hearts of people. He knows the consequences of our attachments. And when we place our trust in Him, truly trust Him, then we begin to realize that even painful separations are wrapped in divine mercy. It's important to understand that Allah's love for you is not always shown through what He gives you. Sometimes it is most clearly seen in what He saves you from. That relationship you were begging to keep, but Allah allowed to break apart. Perhaps it was pulling you away from your identity, your principles, your akhirah, that habit that once gave you momentary pleasure but eventually left you feeling empty. Perhaps it was slowly darkening your heart and weakening your connection with the Quran and Salah. That environment you were so comfortable in, but that now feels foreign or toxic. Maybe it no longer reflects who you're becoming. Allah removes not to hurt you but to heal you. Not to abandon you, but to bring you back to Him in a more pure, sincere, and elevated state. And so, when you look at your life and notice things slipping away, don't rush to panic. Don't immediately assume that you're being punished. Ask yourself instead, Is this an answer to a dua I made long ago? Maybe you asked Allah to protect you, to guide you, to cleanse your heart, to make you stronger, and this discomfort you feel, it's not destruction, it's transformation. You're shedding an old skin, you're leaving behind a version of yourself that can no longer serve the mission Allah has placed in your life. And yes, that process can feel heavy, it can be lonely at times, but there is light at the end of it, and that light is closeness to your Creator, inner peace, and a renewed sense of purpose. And think for a moment, my brothers and sisters, about the things you once thought you couldn't live without. Certain friendships, routines, even sinful habits that felt like part of your identity. At one point in time, those things were so tightly woven into your life that imagining a future without them seemed impossible. But now you've outgrown them, you've moved forward. In some cases, Allah has removed them for you without you even realizing why at the time. And only in hindsight do you see the wisdom. That is the quiet, beautiful way Allah operates in our lives. He knows that the you who once tolerated certain things can no longer carry them into the next chapter of your life. The version of you that is meant to walk in closeness with Allah cannot do so while being weighed down by what no longer serves your soul. When Allah begins to change you, the transition isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. You might wake up one day and realize you no longer enjoy the same company, or you don't find the same jokes funny anymore. You no longer feel at peace in the places you used to spend your time, or you're no longer drawn to the same conversations or music or lifestyle. It's not arrogance, it's not pride, it's growth. It's your fitra, the natural purity within you starting to rise again. Allah is purifying your heart from things that you didn't even know were harming you. And with every attachment He severs, with every door He closes, He is redirecting your heart back to Him. And that redirection, even if it feels lonely at first, is a sign of love from your Creator. Consider the friend you thought would be in your life forever, but suddenly communication faded. You felt abandoned, hurt, maybe even betrayed. But later, you discover that this person was leading you away from your deen, encouraging a lifestyle that distanced you from Allah, or constantly feeding negativity into your mind. You didn't see it then, but now it's clear. That separation wasn't random, it was necessary. Or reflect on a moment when a job opportunity didn't work out, or when a business failed and you were filled with disappointment. But that loss pushed you to reevaluate your priorities, to return to Allah in dua, and perhaps even led you to something more meaningful, something that aligned better with your values and your akhirah. This is the divine pattern we so often miss when we're caught up in the pain of loss. But Allah, in His wisdom, removes with purpose. He never takes away just for the sake of taking. There's always a replacement, always a greater good. And most of the time, that greater good is not external, it's internal. It's your heart becoming softer, your du'as becoming more sincere, your dependence on Allah becoming stronger. That in itself is a priceless gift. Because when you begin to feel the sweetness of reliance on Allah, you realize that what you lost was never truly yours to begin with. And what you gained was far more lasting and fulfilling. This is why, my beloved brothers and sisters, we must learn to view the changes in our lives not through the lens of fear or frustration, but through the lens of trust. Trust in Allah's plan, trust in His mercy, trust that what's being taken from you is not meant to break you, but to build you. Because often what feels like a loss on the surface is actually a preparation for something greater. When Allah removes a person from your life, He may be protecting your faith. When He strips you of a habit you once enjoyed, He may be purifying your heart. When He blocks an opportunity you were desperate to have, He may be saving you from a path that would have harmed your akira. But the problem is, we don't always see that wisdom immediately. We're focused on the short-term pain, and we miss the long-term mercy. And this is where the test truly lies. Not in the removal itself, but in your response to it. Will you complain? Will you resent Allah for taking something you thought you needed? Or will you pause, reflect, and say, perhaps this is the answer to a dua I made. Perhaps this is Allah's way of guiding me quietly, gently, but firmly towards something better. That level of spiritual maturity doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. But the more you train your heart to see Allah's hand in every shift of your life, the more peaceful you become. You stop fighting every change and you start flowing with it, because you know that if Allah is the one doing the removing, then it's not loss, it's replacement. You see, Allah doesn't remove something from your life and leave a hole there forever. He replaces it. He replaces it with something that better fits the purified version of you He is trying to bring forward. But here's the part many people miss. Sometimes the replacement isn't external, it's internal. Allah may not give you a new friend, a new job, or a new opportunity right away, but instead He gives you a new level of patience, a deeper connection in your salah, a heart that is softer, more grateful, more resilient. And that, my brothers and sisters, is far more valuable than anything this world can offer. So rather than asking why things are falling apart, ask yourself, who am I becoming through this process? If the answer is someone more conscious of Allah, someone more grounded in their faith, someone who is returning to Quran, to dua, to tawbah, then that's not a loss. That's success, that's a transformation. And in the eyes of Allah, that is worth far more than the temporary comfort of holding on to people, habits, or plans that were never meant to stay in the first place. And it's important to understand, my brothers and sisters, that we often attach ourselves too deeply to the dunya, to this world. We build expectations, relationships, identities, even our sense of worth around people, routines, careers, and lifestyles. And then, when one of those things is taken away, it feels like our entire sense of self is crumbling. But that is exactly the point. If your sense of peace is tied to something temporary, then that peace will always be unstable. Allah, out of His mercy, doesn't want your peace to depend on anything fragile. He wants your peace to come from Him. He wants your heart to be attached to the one who never leaves, who never changes, and who always knows what's best for you, even when you don't. And so, part of this transformation, the replacement of the old you, is also a correction of what your heart was leaning on too heavily. Maybe you leaned too much on a person, so Allah removed them. Maybe you leaned too much on a source of income, so Allah changed it. Maybe your confidence was in your own plans and Allah disrupted them so you would turn to Him again. These moments are not signs of weakness. They are invitations. Invitations to return to your Lord, to place your hope and fear in Him alone, to realize that it is Allah who carries you, not the world. And once you reach that stage where your stability is rooted in faith, where your happiness doesn't rise and fall with the ups and downs of life, you become free. You are no longer imprisoned by your past or by people's opinions or by your own fears of what the future might hold. You trust the one who holds your future, and that is true liberation. That is when your soul finds peace, even if your surroundings are uncertain. That is when you begin to understand that every removal in your life was not just a loss, it was a return to your essence, a return to your fitrah, a return to Allah. So if you are going through this change right now, if you feel like you're in a season of being stripped of what you once held close, know this: you are not being punished. You are being purified. Allah is not breaking you. He is rebuilding you. He is answering your du'as not only by giving you what you want, but by making you into the kind of person who is ready to receive it, appreciate it, and use it for good. Sometimes the greatest blessing is not in what He gives, but in who He allows you to become through the struggle. But you see, my brothers and sisters, embracing this journey of transformation takes time. It takes patience. And above all, it takes faith, real faith, the kind that trusts Allah even when things don't make sense. You won't always understand the reason behind the changes happening in your life. There will be days when you feel lost, when your heart is heavy with confusion, when it seems like the more you try to become better, the more things get taken away. That's when Shaitan whispers, you were better off before. At least back then you weren't lonely, at least things felt easier. But don't fall for it. That's not your path anymore. The old you was connected to comfort, not clarity. The old you was driven by desire, not discipline. The old you may have looked fine from the outside, but inside there was emptiness. And so Allah, in His mercy, decided to rebuild you from within. Slowly, quietly, carefully. You may not realize it now, but you're being prepared for something better than anything you're holding on to. There is a deeper wisdom behind why certain people no longer walk with you. There's a reason your heart outgrew certain spaces. There's a reason your soul no longer tolerates what it used to. Allah is removing what blocks the light from entering your heart. And sometimes that means He has to remove pieces of you, versions of you that were built on pain, pride, or the desire to please people rather than your Creator. This is why it's so important to surrender to the process. Stop resisting it. Stop asking Allah to restore what He is trying to remove. Instead, ask Him for understanding. Ask Him for patience. Ask Him for the strength to walk through this change with dignity and trust. Because the truth is, you will never find peace in clinging to what Allah has already written to end. And you will never discover the new you, the one He is shaping, if you keep trying to rebuild what He has already broken down for your own good. Real transformation doesn't just change your habits, it changes your heart. It softens your ego, it breaks your arrogance. It reminds you that no matter how strong or intelligent or capable you think you are nothing without the help of Allah. And the moment you truly accept that, not just with your tongue, but with your soul, you begin to experience something extraordinary. Peace that isn't dependent on circumstances, but on submission. And that is the most powerful place you can be. So now, my dear brothers and sisters, ask yourself, who am I becoming through this process? What kind of person is emerging from this discomfort, this silence, this test? Because that is what truly matters. Life is not about how much you accumulate, how many people you impress, or how perfectly your plans unfold. Life is about how close you come to Allah, how purified your heart becomes, how sincere your intentions are, and how well you prepare for the hereafter. If the loss you experienced brought you to your knees in sujood, then it wasn't a loss, it was a gift. If that heartbreak made you whisper sincere du'as for the first time in months, then it wasn't harm, it was healing. And if Allah stripped something away from you, only for you to turn back to Him with more devotion, more humility, and more reliance, then what you gained is infinitely more valuable than what you lost. This is the essence of spiritual maturity, the ability to see beyond the moment, beyond the pain, and into the mercy behind the trial. It's realizing that sometimes Allah will empty your hands so that He can fill them with something better. He will close one door so that you finally knock on His. And He will remove what you were building your life around so that you remember who truly holds your life altogether. That awareness doesn't remove the pain, but it gives the pain a purpose. And once you understand that your trials are part of your spiritual elevation, you begin to see them as a sign of Allah's love, not His anger. Remember, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, when Allah loves a servant, He tests him, not to break him, not to humiliate him, but to raise him, to polish his heart, to make him among those who are closest to Him. So don't allow your hardship to turn you bitter. Let it turn you better. Don't let the absence of certain people make you feel abandoned. Let it remind you that Allah never left you. And don't measure your worth by what has been taken away. Measure it by how much closer you're becoming to your Creator through it all. This is the beautiful reality of our faith, that even in loss there is gain, even in pain there is purification, even in confusion there is divine planning. And when Allah is the one orchestrating your transformation, then the new you, the one that emerges from this, is someone stronger, wiser, cleaner in the heart, and richer in iman. That's why, my brothers and sisters, we must begin to see our lives through the eyes of tawakkul, true, unwavering trust in Allah. Because when you trust in Him, even your most difficult days begin to make sense. You stop chasing what's no longer meant for you. You stop clinging to what Allah is removing. You stop begging for doors to reopen when they were closed out of mercy. Instead, you begin to walk forward, not with all the answers, but with a heart that knows Allah's wisdom is greater than your understanding. You begin to accept that your story is being written by the one who knows the beginning, the middle, and the end, and everything in between. When that kind of faith enters your heart, even the quiet seasons of your life, where nothing seems to be happening, start to feel purposeful. Because you know that while the world may see silence, Allah is working on you. He is aligning what needs to align. He is healing what you didn't even know was broken. He is removing people, desires, plans, even parts of your own ego, because they no longer serve your soul. And in that silence, He is planting seeds of growth, preparing you for the next chapter, one you may not yet see, but one that is filled with more clarity, more strength, and more barakah than what you left behind. This is why we must never underestimate what Allah is doing for us behind the scenes. Just because you don't feel immediate relief doesn't mean Allah isn't responding. Just because you haven't seen the full picture doesn't mean it's not already unfolding. The removal itself is part of the answer. The loss is part of the redirection. The discomfort is part of the purification. And the change you're resisting now may be the very thing that brings you the peace you've been begging Allah for all along. So keep going, keep praying, keep trusting. When Allah replaces the old you, it is not because you are not enough. It is because He knows what you are capable of becoming. He knows there is more in you, more light, more goodness, more sincerity. He is not abandoning you. He is investing in you. So be patient with yourself as He completes His work. You are under construction. Not because you are broken, but because you are being rebuilt by the most merciful in a way that is better than you ever imagined. And while you're on this path of transformation, my brothers and sisters, it's important to remember, don't rush the process. You are not meant to become someone new overnight. Just as a seed doesn't turn into a tree in a day, your spiritual growth takes time. The removal of old habits, toxic mindsets, harmful attachments, it doesn't happen all at once. And that's okay. What matters is that you're moving in the right direction, even if the pace feels slow. What matters is that every day you're a little more honest with yourself, a little more connected to your prayer, a little more mindful of your words and actions. Allah doesn't expect perfection from you. He doesn't ask that you never fall. He only asks that you return to Him when you do. And sometimes the very reason He removes people, situations, or comforts from your life is to gently guide you back to that return, to create space within you, not just in your schedule or environment, but in your heart, for something better to take root. That better might come in the form of tranquility in your worship, sincerity in your intentions, or the courage to make choices that align with your values instead of your temptations. And as you start to walk away from the old version of yourself, perhaps the one who lived to please people, who relied too much on their own plans, or who felt distant from Allah, you'll notice something beautiful happening. Life becomes lighter. Your mind becomes clearer. You begin to breathe again, not because everything around you is perfect, but because you are no longer carrying what wasn't meant for you. You are no longer fighting the wisdom of Allah's plan. You're learning slowly but surely to submit, not just in prayer, but in perspective. And that submission is what brings true peace. It's in those quiet moments, perhaps when you're walking alone or sitting after Fajr or crying in sujood, that you'll realize, I needed this change. I needed Allah to step in. I was asking for a new life, but I didn't know it would require me to let go of the old one first. And once you understand that, everything starts to feel purposeful again. The emptiness becomes space. The silence becomes peace. The separation becomes clarity. You are not who you were, and that is not something to mourn. That is something to be deeply grateful for. And once you begin to internalize all of this, once you truly see that the change you feared was actually a gift from Allah, you will find yourself moving from resistance to gratitude. Yes, gratitude. Not just for the good things in life, but for the things that didn't work out, for the friendships that ended, for the doors that closed, for the tests that shook you, for the moments you were forced to face yourself in the rawest, most unfiltered way. Because without those moments, you would have remained where you were, comfortable, but spiritually stagnant. Allah loved you too much to leave you there. So instead, He opened your eyes. He shook your world just enough that you had to stop, to think, to turn back to Him. That's not a punishment, that's protection, that's divine love. That is Allah saving you from what you couldn't see. And it takes a heart that is connected to Allah to understand that kind of mercy, where even hardship becomes a doorway to hope. You see, my brothers and sisters, Allah is not just replacing the old you for the sake of change. He is refining you, reclaiming you, reintroducing you to yourself the way He always intended you to be. Grounded, sincere, patient, grateful, and guided. A version of you that isn't defined by who you've lost or where you failed, but by how often you return to Allah when things got difficult. A version of you that no longer lives for the approval of people, but for the pleasure of the Creator. A version of you that wakes up every day knowing that your worth doesn't lie in how the world sees you, but in how close you are to the one who made you. That's why you must not give up now. Don't measure your progress based on how far you still have to go. Measure it by how far you've already come. If you're praying again after drifting, thank Allah. If you're letting go of sins you once couldn't live without, thank Allah. If your tears have become du'as instead of complaints, thank Allah. This is not weakness. This is spiritual strength. This is growth. This is transformation. And it is one of the most beautiful journeys you will ever take. But you must be gentle with yourself along the way. Don't shame yourself for how long you were lost. Don't dwell on who you used to be. That was a chapter, not your story. The past may have shaped you, but it does not define your destiny. Allah does. And as long as you are breathing, there is time to turn back, time to build, time to become who you were always meant to be. So don't wait until you feel completely ready or perfect to move forward. Don't tell yourself, I'll change once I've figured everything out, or I'll become religious when life gets easier. The journey back to Allah doesn't begin with perfection. It begins with sincerity. It begins with one honest moment between you and your Creator, where you admit, Ya Allah, I've made mistakes, I've fallen, I've lost my way, but I want to return, I want to grow, I want to become who you created me to be. That one moment, if it's sincere, is more beloved to Allah than a lifetime of outward deeds done without the heart. Allah doesn't expect you to have it all together. He expects you to keep turning to Him again and again, no matter how many times you've failed. And this is one of the most beautiful things about our deen. No matter how far you've gone, you are never too far for Allah's mercy to reach you. You are never too broken for Him to repair. You are never too lost for Him to guide. The very fact that you feel pulled toward change is proof that Allah is still calling you, that He hasn't let go of you, that He wants goodness for you. In fact, the Prophet, peace be upon him, told us that Allah is more pleased with the return of His servant than a man who finds his lost camel in the desert. Can you imagine that kind of joy? That's how welcomed your return is. Even if you feel unworthy, even if you feel late, even if you're still struggling. So don't be ashamed of your journey. Yes, maybe you've made choices in the past that you're not proud of. Maybe you held on to people, habits, or environments that hurt your iman. Maybe you stayed too long in a version of yourself that you knew wasn't right. But Allah saw all of that, and still He guided you here. He pulled you back. He softened your heart. He is replacing the old you with a new version, not to shame you, but to honor you. You are not defined by your lowest moment. You are defined by your willingness to rise after it. And when you rise for Allah's sake, when you take even one step toward Him, He runs toward you. That is the mercy of Allah. That is the beauty of Islam. We are not a people who believe in perfection. We believe in sincere repentance, in gradual progress, in the kind of strength that comes from falling and getting back up again and again. So don't ever think that your journey is too messy to matter, because to Allah, that journey, no matter how imperfect, is precious, it's sacred, and it's leading you somewhere far greater than where you started. And perhaps the most comforting part of this journey, my brothers and sisters, is knowing that Allah has already accounted for your flaws. He knows your weaknesses. He knows the thoughts you struggle with, the temptations you battle, the grief you carry in silence. He knows your past, not just the actions, but the reasons behind them, the wounds that drove you, the loneliness that consumed you, the fears that paralyzed you. And despite all of that, He still calls you back to Him again and again, not with harshness, not with rejection, but with love. That's why you must never lose hope in Allah's plan for you, no matter how many times you feel like you've failed or slipped back into old patterns. The road to transformation is not a straight line. It's a path with turns, setbacks, and silent battles that only you and Allah know about. And each time you rise after falling, each time you resist a sin you once gave in to easily, each time you turn back in repentance, those are moments of immense value in the sight of Allah, even if no one else sees it, even if you yourself struggle to see your progress. Allah sees every silent victory. You might feel that you're still far from who you want to be, but understand this, the transformation is already happening. You're not the same person you were yesterday, and you won't be the same tomorrow. Why? Because Allah is working on you through every test, every loss, every moment of discomfort or distance. He is shaping you, teaching you to let go of the need for control, teaching you that His plan, even when confusing, is always better than the one you had for yourself. And most importantly, teaching you that your worth was never in how the world sees you, but in how consistently your heart turns back to Him. This is why you should never compare your journey to someone else's. Each soul has its own path, its own timing, its own tests. Some are tested through success, others through loss. Some are tested through ease, others through struggle. What matters is not how quickly you appear to be moving forward, but whether or not you're moving with sincerity, with humility, with the quiet courage to say, Ya Allah, I'm trying, even if I'm still struggling. Because in that effort, in that private sincerity, is something more beloved to Allah than we can ever fully comprehend. So continue, even when it's hard, even when you feel like you're starting over, even when others don't understand what you're going through. Because Allah understands. He sees the layers of your heart that no one else can see. And He's not replacing the old you to punish you, but to honor the dues you made on your lowest nights, in your loneliest moments, asking Him to bring you closer, to clean your heart, to strengthen your faith, and to give your life meaning. You see, my dear brothers and sisters, one of the most extraordinary signs of Allah's love for a person is when He intervenes in their life, even when they themselves didn't know they needed it. He removes certain people, He closes certain doors, He changes the path you thought you wanted. And at first it can feel like disappointment, it can feel like you're being denied something beautiful. But later, sometimes much later, you begin to see that what He took away was never meant to stay. And what He replaced it with was exactly what your soul was truly longing for, even if you didn't have the words to ask for it. That is Allah's mercy in action. Sometimes He gives you what you wanted, other times He gives you something better than what you were capable of wanting. And sometimes He gives you nothing material at all, but instead He gives you something eternal, clarity, tawbah, peace in your heart, the ability to walk away from what used to trap you, the strength to forgive when you used to hold grudges, the discipline to say no to sin when you used to fall easily. These are not small things. These are signs that Allah is nurturing your soul in ways the world can't measure. And yes, that process can be uncomfortable because growth requires letting go. It means you'll have to walk away from parts of your past that no longer reflect your present. It means certain people may no longer recognize you or may even mock the new direction your life is taking. But that's okay. The goal of this life was never to be understood by everyone. The goal was to be understood by Allah and to live in a way that earns His pleasure. If Allah is pleased with you, then even if the entire world turns away, you have succeeded. But if He is displeased and the world applauds you, you have lost, no matter how much you've gained. So when things start falling away, when your life begins to feel unfamiliar, don't panic. You are not falling apart. You are being reorganized, re-centered, realigned with your purpose. The old version of you may have been rooted in fear, in attachment, in pleasing others. But the new version of you, the one Allah is replacing it with, is rooted in trust, in obedience, and in love for the one who never lets go. This is not the end. This is the real beginning, a beginning that starts not by changing your circumstances alone, but by changing your heart, your habits, your direction, and your destination. And the most beautiful part, you're not walking this journey alone. Even if no one else understands your transformation, Allah does. And He's walking with you through every step, every tear, every fall, and every rise. The fact that you're still here, still seeking, still trying, still turning to Him despite everything is a sign that He is not done with you. He is still nurturing your soul, still polishing your heart, still preparing you for something better, both in this world and in the next. And perhaps what we forget most in the middle of all this change is that Allah is never in a rush with us. He doesn't expect us to become someone new overnight. He doesn't demand that we transform all at once. That urgency, that pressure to be perfect, that comes from people not from your Creator. Allah gives you time, He gives you space, He gives you reminders gently over and over again. He waits for your heart to soften. He waits for you to reach the point where your own soul no longer wants to return to what He took you out of. That is the kind of Lord we worship. Patient, kind, always near. So don't let impatience rob you of progress. The fact that you are not where you used to be is already something to be thankful for. Maybe you're still struggling to leave that one habit behind. Maybe your salah isn't perfect yet. Maybe your heart still wavers between faith and fear. But if you are trying, genuinely trying, that is enough for today. Keep going, keep turning to Him, keep cleaning your heart, even if it feels like you have to start over every single day. Because Allah loves consistency, even if it is small. And Allah loves those who keep coming back, no matter how many times they fall. And as your inner world begins to shift, your thoughts, your intentions, your choices, you'll realize that the version of you that once chased everything and everyone just to feel accepted is slowly fading. In its place is someone who is quieter, calmer, someone who seeks Allah's approval first, someone who isn't afraid to be misunderstood so long as they're understood by their Creator, someone who smiles not because life is perfect, but because they found meaning in the imperfection. This is what it means to be transformed by Allah. It's not loud, it's not sudden, it's not always visible to others, but it is real and it is powerful. And when you experience it, you realize that what Allah gave you through this change, peace, sincerity, tawbah, closeness, is worth far more than anything you were forced to give up. So don't grieve over what's gone. Don't mourn the old version of you. That chapter is closed because it was never meant to carry you forward. You are becoming someone new, not because you failed, but because you were meant to rise. And Allah, in His infinite wisdom, is helping you do exactly that. And here's something you may not have realized, my brothers and sisters. Not everyone is chosen for this kind of transformation. Not everyone gets pulled away from what is harmful. Not everyone is awakened from a life of heedlessness. So if you find yourself in a season of inner disruption, where your soul no longer settles for what used to satisfy it, know that this is not random. It's a sign that Allah has chosen you. Out of billions of people in this world, He selected you to walk this path. He saw something in your heart that maybe you don't even see in yourself. He saw potential, He saw sincerity, and so He called you back to Him. That calling doesn't always come in ease. It often comes through heartbreak, through failure, through loss, through a deep discomfort with the life you once lived. But however it comes, the purpose is always the same: to pull you closer, to remove the layers that were hiding your light, to clear the noise around you so you can finally hear His voice within you, the voice that tells you you were made for more than this, more than pleasing people, more than material gain, more than surface level success. You were made to walk with purpose, with peace, with Allah. And yes, there will still be moments when you miss the old life, even if it wasn't good for you. That's part of being human. Change doesn't mean you no longer feel the pull of temptation. It means you've chosen something greater than your desires. You've chosen obedience over ease, discipline over distraction, iman over image. And even if it feels like no one sees your effort, Allah sees every bit of it. He sees the tears you never told anyone about. He hears the silent du'as made in moments of confusion. He records the sins you turned away from in private when no one else would have known. All of it counts. All of it matters. So never underestimate what Allah is doing with your life just because you don't see the full picture yet. A house under construction looks like a mess to outsiders, but the architect knows exactly what he's building. And Allah, the best of planners, is building you, not just for this world, but for something far more beautiful in the next. And on the day of judgment, when the veil is lifted and you finally see the full wisdom behind every loss, every delay, every painful moment, you will say, Alhamdulillah. You'll thank Allah for not giving you what you once begged for. You'll praise Him for replacing your old self with someone stronger, someone purer, someone ready to meet Him with a heart that was rebuilt through mercy. My beloved brothers and sisters, understand that when Allah replaces the old you, He is not simply changing your habits or shifting your circumstances. He is elevating your soul. And with that elevation comes responsibility. You're not just growing for yourself, you're growing for your family, for your community, for the people whose lives you may touch one day. Because the new you, the one Allah is forming through all this, is someone whose very presence will carry light, someone whose words will heal, someone whose silence will have weight, someone whose heart, now softened through loss and strengthened through faith, becomes a means of goodness in the lives of others. This is how Allah prepares His servants. He strips away arrogance, ego, and false attachments, not to humiliate them, but to make room for sincerity, wisdom, and quiet power. You may not see it now, but the lessons you're learning through these trials, the strength you're gaining in these silent battles, these are preparing you for things greater than you can imagine. And when the time comes, you will look back at this moment, not with sadness, but with gratitude. Because you'll realize this version of you, this new you, could only be born through a journey that forced you to lean on Allah like never before. So embrace the process. Don't rush what Allah is doing in you. Healing takes time. Realignment takes time. Letting go of what you once depended on, emotionally, spiritually, socially, it all takes time. But with every small act of obedience, every sincere dua, every step you take away from what doesn't serve your akhirah, you are honoring the transformation Allah is unfolding in your life. You are showing Him, Ya Allah, I trust your plan, even when I don't fully understand it. I accept your will, even when it's hard. And know this, you will never be left empty. Anything you give up for the sake of Allah, anything you walk away from to preserve your deen, He will replace it with something purer, something better, something that brings you closer to Him. That is His promise. And Allah never breaks His promise. And this is what many people don't realize. When Allah puts you through this kind of transformation, it's because He is preparing you for something sacred. He is molding you not just to survive the tests of this life, but to carry responsibilities with humility, to carry His message through your character, and to reflect His mercy through your presence. There are things ahead of you that require a stronger version of you, a more patient version, a more spiritually alert version. And that version cannot emerge unless the old patterns, the old dependencies, and the old mindset are peeled away. That peeling hurts, but what's left behind is something real, something sincere, something deeply rooted in tawakkul. This is why you shouldn't fear the process even when it gets lonely, even when people no longer understand who you're becoming, even when your surroundings no longer fit the new you. That isolation is not abandonment, it's incubation. Allah is placing you in a spiritual space where He becomes your primary companion, where your heart learns to seek comfort in dhikr instead of distractions, where your soul begins to crave the Quran instead of noise. And once you've been through that process, once you've been refined by Allah Himself, nothing in this world can shake you the same way again. Because you know where your strength lies. You've tasted what it feels like to be broken but held by Allah alone. That's not weakness, that's strength of the highest kind, the kind that doesn't need applause, the kind that doesn't collapse with criticism, the kind that knows if Allah is with me, I have everything I need. And that mindset, that heart state, is what allows you to carry this transformation forward, to walk into your future not in fear of what you've lost, but in gratitude for what Allah has made of you. Because what you've gained, conviction, sincerity, a cleansed heart, is something that no person, no loss, no hardship can ever take away again. So the next time you look at your life and wonder why things had to change the way they did, remind yourself this wasn't destruction, this was protection, this was mercy, this was Allah answering the du'as you whispered in your most vulnerable moments, the ones you might not even remember, but He remembered. And He responded, not always with what you wanted, but always with what you needed. So now, my beloved brothers and sisters, as you move forward, carry this in your heart. You are not who you used to be. And that is a mercy from Allah. You are walking a path that He personally cleared for you. A path that may feel unfamiliar, maybe even lonely at times, but one that is paved with wisdom, light, and purpose. You have been chosen for change, chosen to let go, chosen to grow, chosen to draw nearer to the one who never leaves. And every loss, every removal, every silent shift in your heart, it was never random. It was Allah replacing the old you with someone better, someone stronger, someone closer to Him. So be patient with the process. Be kind to yourself as you heal. And be grateful that your Lord, in all His mercy, did not leave you in a state that no longer served your soul. This transformation you are experiencing is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a far greater one. A story written by the one who knows you, sees you, and loves you, despite everything you've been through. Return to Him, even if all you can offer is brokenness. Trust Him, even when the path is unclear, and thank Him, not just when He gives, but also when He takes. Because what He removes in His wisdom, He replaces in His mercy, and what He replaces is always worth more than what was lost. May Allah continue to guide you, protect your heart, strengthen your faith, and write for you a future more beautiful than anything you've left behind. Ameen.